Betrayal, treason. Benedict Arnold, over the years, has become infamous for the betrayal of this country by attempting to hand over the crucial military fortification of West Point to the British. His very name has even become synonymous with the word traitor. But was he always? No, he wasn't. He was a hero. A hero. This begs the question, why? Why did he betray his country? How did he do it? If he was such a hero, what were his exploits before his fall? Join me now as I explore the events and reasons behind Benedict Arnold's rise and fall and what it means for us today. This time on the History Inquirer. Benedict Arnold was born on January 14, 1741, in Norwich, Connecticut. His father had been a prosperous merchant but faced setbacks and failures that led to financial decline. He also became an alcoholic, luckily as a way to cope with his failures. Benedict Arnold grew up with a thirst to prove himself, to restore his family fortune, gain recognition for himself. Young Arnold would move to New Haven, where he would become a merchant himself and a member of the local militia and the Sons of Liberty. Arnold was vain, prideful, and slow to forgive a slight. Over the course of his life, he would fight several duels against those who slighted his honor. In 1775, he joined the rebel cause and aided Ethan Allen in the capture of Fort Ticonderoga in New York on May 10th, and later led an expedition to capture the city of Quebec in support of General Richard Montgomery, who led the main force, which failed, and he was wounded in his left leg. And what is remarkable is that during the expedition, he led 700 men through the Maine wilderness, which showed his endurance and courage and perseverance. The battle was also fought during a blizzard on New Year's Eve, 1775. He also commanded a fleet on Lake Champlain as a brigadier general and was successful in halting British efforts to invade New York through Canada in 1776 during the Battle of Valcour Island. His decisive leadership, courage, and bravery made him a hero, but his impatience and rashness made him enemies among his fellow officers. He also distinguished himself during the Battle of Saratoga, with his actions leading to an American victory, though unfortunately for him, General Horatio Gates, the commander of the army, took the credit and failed to mention Arnold and his report on the Battle of Freeman's Farm. It also did not help that Congress chose to promote 5 junior officers ahead of him to Major General, and even when they finally did promote him, they did not give him the seniority that he would have had, which he viewed as an attack. The reason Congress did this was to avoid showing favoritism to any particular colony or state by only promoting so many generals per state instead of promoting solely based off of merit. The former colonies were used to governing themselves separately, independently, and not as part of a whole. America was not yet the fully united, cohesive nation that it would be under the Constitution. In addition, Arnold spent his own money to finance military operations, and Congress took a long time to pay him back, to reimburse him. And this led to the feeling of not being recognized for his accomplishments and not receiving proper compensation. Congress was not in a good financial position as well. Their paper currency, the Continental, was losing value, and as a result was not able to pay the officers a decent enough salary. Many officers looked for ways to benefit financially from the war, and Arnold was no exception. As a matter of fact, he would prove to be one of the worst, as one of the main reasons why he betrayed his country was for money. Since he had been severely wounded in his left leg, again, at the Battle of Saratoga, Benedict Arnold, though unfit for command, was given the post of military governor of Philadelphia in June 1778. While in Philadelphia, Benedict Arnold would have the opportunity of meeting the attractive Peggy Shippen, who was 20 years younger than him. Now, Benedict Arnold had lost his first wife, Margaret, back in 1775. Peggy and her father were loyalists who supported the British, with Peggy having partied with British Major John Andre during the British occupation. The Shippens were the equivalent to Philadelphia aristocracy, so Arnold needed funds in order to convince Peggy's father that he could support her and support her lifestyle. Now, Arnold embarked on numerous money schemes to provide him with sufficient wealth to cover his debts and give Peggy the lifestyle that she was used to. He also entertained, went to the theater, and rode in an expensive carriage. While angering the patriots in charge of the city. In short, Benedict Arnold was acting very British. All this extravagance, and he even dressed up in a red uniform at a ball, looking very much like a British officer. So, okay, in the past patriots, the radicals who were in power, they did not like this at all. Joseph Reed, the president of the state's Supreme Executive Council, brought charges against Arnold, though he would be acquitted eventually due to the lack of evidence. Nevertheless, the experience proved how weak and ineffectual Congress was during this time. Under the Articles of Confederation, to Arnold, it felt like the country that he fought so hard for was not only failing him, but falling apart. As author, historian Nathaniel Philbrick writes in Smithsonian Magazine, and I quote, "In the last 9 months it taught him anything. It was that the country to which he had given everything but his life could easily fall apart. Instead of a national government, Congress had become a facade behind which 13 states did whatever was best for them. Indeed, it might be argued that Joseph Reed was now more influential than all of Congress combined. What made all of this particularly galling was the hostility that Reed, and apparently most of the American people, held toward the Continental Army. More and more Americans regarded officers like Arnold as dangerous hirelings on the order of the Hessian mercenaries and British regulars, while local militiamen were looked to as a patriotic ideal. In reality, many of these militiamen were employed by community officials as thuggish enforcers to terrorize local citizens whose loyalties were suspect. In this increasingly toxic and volatile environment, issues of class threatened to transform a collective quest for national independence into a sordid and self-defeating civil war. It was this toxic, chaotic environment that led Arnold to believe that his country would be better off under the strong hand of the British government. In April 1779, Benedict Arnold and Peggy Shippen were wed, for after all, Peggy was very good at getting what she wanted, either from her father or from her new husband. She was also very prone to hysterics and making herself seem like this weak, fragile woman when she may not have been. She was actually very good at acting. Now, 2 months after their marriage, Benedict Arnold wrote his first letter to British General Henry Clinton about how much he would give him to betray his country. In 1780, he received £500 with the promise of more. His wife Peggy acted as a messenger, a go-between between British Major John Andre and Benedict Arnold. Though until summer of 1780, he was still kind of supportive of and loyal to Washington. Washington was kind of always in his corner. And nevertheless, in August of 1780, Arnold asked for the command of West Point with the intent of turning the very important strategic fortifications over to the British for 10 to 20,000 pounds. Some sources say 10,000, some sources say 20,000. Make of that what you will, but he's getting a good deal of money, or at least promised. And the British accepted this deal. So West Point sits on a bend in the Hudson River and was vital for control of the Hudson River Valley, and this is why they won it. So now if the British captured the stronghold, they could cut New England off from the rest of the colonies. Arnold proceeded to weaken the defenses of West Point any way that he could and leak information on troop movements to the British. The time that Arnold planned to carry out his plot, General Washington was scheduled to tour the stronghold's defenses, so if the plot was successful, General Washington would be captured along with the fort. However, the plot was foiled. When Major Andre was captured en route to New York City by American militia who he mistakenly believed to be Hessian soldiers, and plans for the British capture of West Point were found in his boot. I remember one source saying that one of the American militiamen had a Hessian officer's coat on, and so that's why Andre thought that he was a Hessian. Anyways, Arnold's betrayal was discovered, and Major Andre ended up getting hanged. Benedict Arnold escaped to British-held New York aboard the British HMS Vulture. He would go on to lead British forces against Americans in Richmond, Virginia. However, in 1781, he would be relieved of command and returned to London, and his family would join him. Although he would try to restart his merchant business and try other business ventures, his reputation on both sides of the Atlantic never fully recovered. It was forever tarnished. The British hated him for leaving Major Andre to be captured and hanged for his character flaws. He even attacked his own home state of Connecticut in a raid. He picked the losing side, forever making his name synonymous with the word traitor. And he would die in London in 1801 at the age of 60. Now, with all this said, did Arnold really gain anything from his betrayal? This brings to mind the Bible verse, "For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul?" That's Mark chapter 8, verse 36. And also, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. That's Proverbs 16, verse 18. Benedict Arnold's greed and his pride led to his downfall. And he was in debt, so he needed the money, but he also lived lavishly while in Philadelphia, which led him further into debt. Benedict Arnold is a tragic figure, reminiscent of Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars. He was a hero with several character flaws that led to his downfall, along with his marriage to Peggy Shippen and his treatment by Congress. I think this is a story worth learning from to prevent this kind of thing from happening again in the future. Treat those around you with love, honor, and respect, and provide recognition and compensation where it is due. It is also important to humble yourself and to not take things so personally. Thank you all for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time on History Inquirer. Thank you.